Hear anything?
Tonight on The Big Picture, with my voice barely existing and all, we're both live in the studio. The devil is a liar. My voice is coming back by the end of this show. Y'all pray for me right now because we got a lot of ground to cover. Who is running this country? Who is running the world? Apparently, it's not our presidents, and apparently it's not those that are in charge of the departments. We've got that. We're going to go deeper into the Giants of Miami and everything else that's going on in the world tonight on The Big Picture Live. Let's do it. Oh, yeah. Let's bring in the queen right now. She is here in the house.
So glad to be back.
My God, what a week.
What a week. It's literally January the 8th. Your birthday, by the way, if anybody wants to send any birthday wishes.
Today's my birthday.
Today is your birthday.
It is. It's also the Kang's birthday.
The Kang.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Elvis. But as you say, we're 1 week into this year, and so much has already happened.
Lord have mercy.
Crazy, right?
Crazy. Well, we thought we was going to have some pictures. We had all kinds of technical difficulties at the end. Maybe we'll show you that Wednesday night Bible study. Yeah. But we were able to get a quick little getaway. Went on a cruise, which we don't ever do anything like this, y'all. And
I've been on a cruise in 10 years.
Excuse me. And we don't ever just last minute decide to get out of town. And that's what we did. Right before Christmas, like a couple of days before Christmas, we just said, you know what? 2024 is coming. It's going to be a big year for the world. It's going to be a big year for us. God's going to put a demand on our life like never before. So we need to get away, and we need to just refresh and recharge. That's what we did. And I come back with an extended cough and extended whatever. I don't know what happened.
Knowing how much you love challenges, I gave you a big one when you said, I think I'd like to do a cruise.
Yeah.
And I said, fine. As long as you can find one between this date and this date, that'll be great.
Yeah, and we literally booked the only one that was available,
so
I think, in the country.
December 23rd, we booked a cruise starting on December 28th. How about that, right?
Yeah, hey, but we got it done. We had a great time. We brought in the new year on the water. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And declared things over our lives for 2024. And
absolutely.
And we were thinking about our big picture family. We were thinking about we couldn't wait to get back in the studio. And I'm telling you, I'm not going to let this or nothing stop me.
No.
Because we're going to cover some news. And if you hadn't smashed that like button, go ahead and do that now. We've got a lot of new subscribers, a lot of new viewers that came in this week.
Sure did. Wow.
Yeah.
We were looking at comments and seeing all these new folks chiming in. I was amazed. It's great. So
apparently everybody's interested in giants and 10-foot tall aliens. So and when Uncle Jimmy comes into the house, we will give you some new information on that. But let's get into the breaking news tonight, Sandy. First of all, breaking news just before we went online. Don't know all the details here, but a massive explosion has happened in the Fort Worth hotel at a Fort Worth, Texas hotel. At least 11 people were injured Monday following a possible gas explosion. And the reason we're covering this tonight, number one, it's a serious issue, but there has been multiple house and building explosions.
Yes, there have.
Over the last few months, really, this past year. It just seems really suspicious. He goes on to say that there are, says that the first call came in, followed by multiple cells reporting a type of explosion at the Sandman Hotel.
Yeah.
Which that's interesting there, the Sandman Hotel.
Right. Weird name.
So what are you hearing? This was breaking. You came in actually telling me about it right before we went live.
Yeah, I didn't even get the details. I just came in the door and I'm like, have you heard of this? Do you know the story yet? And you were scrambling to find it to include it in tonight's lineup. So as you say, 11 were injured. I think this happened at 3 or 3:30 in this area, and they've not reported anyone, has lost their life at this point. I hope that doesn't happen. There doesn't appear to be like a ton of rubble that needs to be looked through, but it's very curious and very suspicious.
It is.
And
so we just wanted to drop that on you just to keep your eyes open for that. I don't know if this is nefarious here, but I just got a feeling that you're going to start seeing more explosions, because when you saw that video of that Ring camera where that house just exploded and disintegrated right in front of us, that was the second one.
That's the thing about these home explosions when it has something to do with the natural gas.
Yeah.
They just get obliterated.
I mean, it's like
an
bomb.
Implosion where it just flattens the entire structure. So those are very unfortunate, and some have died in those. Very questionable. What I always want to say is, okay, who lived in that house? Let's find out who that person was.
In our mind goes to, did they have a smart meter? Is there something?
My mind goes to, were they trying to get rid of somebody? Sorry.
I was thinking that, but you were the one that was brave enough to say it.
Yeah. So a lot going on, and sometimes we get answers. Sometimes they're not suitable answers. Sometimes you just don't get very much information. So.
That's true. All right. So in the other breaking news that happened, this is just crazy, y'all.
Crazy. This broke this morning.
This is insane.
I was speaking with someone from church. They had called me, and they were like, do you know about da-da-da-da-da? And I'm like, when did this break? And they're like, this just happened this morning.
So this particular website's calling it AWOL Gate. So before Biden, this says, AWOL Gate, why really did Secretary Lloyd Austin, this is Defense Secretary, y'all, while we are engaged in multiple military things around the world.
As if we needed this one person to go
AWOL. So AWOL for 5 whole days before Biden, the president.
We could probably do the rest of the show on this one story.
Yeah.
This is crazy. This is huge. This is unthinkable. But we do need to continue reading the article.
So 5 days before Biden, the president of the United States, the commander-in-chief, or anyone else in the White House was informed. The entire federal government is asking, and yet there are still been no satisfactory answers expect possibly this one. There's something very wrong with Lloyd Austin's hospitalization story, and it must have something to do with ding, 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 wah, wah. So here's what we want to say.
Well, listen, I think speculation is running amok.
Yeah.
And I hate this because, you've got what you just said is going one direction.
Yep.
I read something else going a completely opposite direction.
Yep.
This is not good when we start speculating. We do need someone to tell us what's going on. We deserve to know.
Yeah, and the speculation, and this is the alleged speculation here, in air quotes here, is that, there's some people saying, is this a psyop in itself?
Our chat's going crazy right now with speculation.
With speculation, yes. So we got people saying replaced by AI, all this kind of stuff. But here's the thing that's crazy is that the controlling people that control the narrative.
Come on.
I just don't think anybody that's trying to control the narrative would want it to get out that the president of the United States had no idea that the defense secretary had been in ICU and didn't tell, watch this, not just the president, but the deputy defense secretary who automatically, the moment he went in the hospital, became the defense secretary, and she was on vacation in Puerto Rico and had no idea that she was the defense secretary.
Does this sound like Banana Republic or some kind of crazy? Why?
Exactly.
I've not heard. Now, listen, I haven't had time to just sit in front of the TV, but I haven't even heard. How about anybody on either side of this government screaming, throwing a fit, throwing things, demanding answers? Where's that?
Well, Trump came out today and demanded that he should be fired. We pray and hope if he is in the hospital he gets better.
Yes.
But this is a derelict of duty, and they said he should resign. Well, this was the response of Biden. Biden comes right out and says, "There's no problem here. I would not accept his resignation if he wanted to. We hope that he gets better. Let's just forget about this. Let's just move on." Listen, we have the largest military escalation in our history.
Come on.
Happening in the Middle East and the China Sea, and the man that runs it all is in the hospital in ICU, could possibly have been dying, and nobody knew it.
We are spread thin with these conflicts all over the world, and hey, what's about to happen next? This is crazy.
This is insane.
It's insane.
And the thing that was the biggest thing to me, yeah, come on. The president didn't know, but how about this? The deputy defense secretary that became the defense secretary in his place, just like a vice president, was vacationing on the beach, kicked back on the beach, and somebody came and said, "Do you know that you're the acting defense secretary?"
This is
She's like, what?
unthinkable.
What are you talking about?
Unthinkable.
What happened to boss?
What's happened to our country?
That's insane. I listen, I'm going to tell you, if you have ever needed evidence that the president of the United States of America, not just this president, I'm talking about any president.
Yeah.
That the president of the United States of America is really not running the country.
Tell it.
This was exposure.
Come on.
I'm telling you, think about all the times. Sorry, I got 2 cough drops in my mouth at the same time.
Double barrel cough drops.
One of them stuck. But, sorry.
Oh.
But think about all the times that you watch things on UFOs
Yes.
and the presidents don't know what's going on. And the people that are now coming forward as whistleblowers, talking about UAPs and UFOs, they're openly admitting our superiors has told us, we don't tell the president this. So it's like the president of the United States, which at one time in our life was known as the most powerful man in the world. He's really not. He's nowhere near the most powerful man in the world. Yeah. When you got the defense secretary in the hospital for 5 days, and the president and his assistant doesn't know that, who is running this country? And by the way, while he was in the hospital, we sent drone strikes. Two drone strikes.
Two strikes.
Who sent them?
Who authorized this?
Who sent the drones? Is this not bothering you?
It should bother you.
Who authorized the killing of people? When the defense secretary, the president didn't know the defense secretary's in ICU, the deputy and acting defense secretary is drinking Mai Tais or whatever you call them on the beach and don't even know that she's the acting, but yet we send drone attacks, 2 of them, and kill people. Who authorized that?
Exactly. So this story, the story from Miami, I know we're going to get to that later, amongst other things, are causing people. Yes, they're becoming uncomfortable, but they are raising a stink. They want answers. And every week that goes by, more people are asking more questions. They're getting upset about all sorts of things, and they want someone to be accountable and answer to what is going on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to say thank you to all our partners. You guys are such a blessing to us. We had new partners gaining every week from our website and here from YouTube, and it means the world to us. And so thank you.
Absolutely.
And let me pause while I cough. My goodness. I'm going to make it through. You know, my good friend, Pastor Paul Begley, he's going through the same thing. I was sitting there praying for him Thursday night. I was just like, Lord, touch him. Yep. He's stopping and coughing, and I'm over here coughing and gagging. Right. I guess it's just a demonic attack against the voices in this moment. But
it is.
The devil is a liar.
He's a liar.
He's a liar.
Paul and Heidi have been sick.
Paul and Heidi.
And poor Israel. Poor Israel could not even get out of bed.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Pitiful.
But we ain't going to be stopped. But look, let's just close this out here. And I want you to know that we're going to tie this story into the end story. The final story tonight, please do not check out. When we bring Uncle Jimmy in here, we're going to talk about some things about what happened in Miami and how I think it might be tied to this story as well with the defense secretary. There's a lot of distraction going on right now for a lot of reasons. And then in the midst of this, one more breaking news, then we're going to get into some deep dive into some things going on with the wars. And
this will make you feel great when you have to travel and fly.
Well, the thing, I don't know if you watched the little videos attached to this, but this just happened to be the only row that no one was sitting at. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
So they're over there, the assistant, what do you call them now? can't call them
Flight attendants.
Yeah, what you used to call them?
Stewardess.
Stewardess, you can't call them that
Don't
anymore.
do that.
So flight attendants over there, and the one that's doing the video going, oh, thank goodness nobody was sitting there. So they're flying, and the Alaska Airlines plane window blows out over in mid-flight, forcing emergency landing. How many times have you just sort of slept right through that safety thing that they do?
Don't do that.
And they're talking about, in the case of what is it called?
Compression.
Decompression. The mask will fall down. If you have a small child, put your mask on. And you just read and you're surfing. You ain't listening. You done heard that thing.
No, you better figure out where the exits
Yeah.
are on that plane and what to do in any of those scenarios. But
This is wild.
is this the same situation? I think it is, where allegedly it was reported that a child's shirt was sucked off their body.
In this plane?
I think this is what happened. This happened while we were on the ship, right?
Yes.
So I'm pretty sure it's the same instance. We're in and out, and we're mostly out of having a signal, but we would get a little bit of news on the ship from the television. And I believe someone reported that no person obviously was sucked out of the plane, but I think someone said that a child's shirt was sucked off of their body.
Listen, we ain't trying to scare people, but if you're going to be on a plane, like you said, know where the exits are.
Yes.
And, hey, I know you don't like it, but put that seatbelt on.
Yeah.
Because if you're sitting at that window and you was just sitting there casually and you say, I ain't going to put the seatbelt on. You'd be bye-bye.
Listen, we took off Friday on the way home.
Yeah.
We're in the air a few seconds, and we're already having turbulence. You know, that little bit of a bounce. Wear your seatbelt.
Wear your seatbelt. And let's
you
not,
don't want to fly up and hit your head.
Let's not also forget when we got delayed multiple times before we were leaving.
Yes.
How about this, captain of the airline? How about you sitting there and you hear this? Like we're on the plane. We'd already been delayed like 2 hours. We're finally leaving, and he comes on. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry, I have bad news. Listen, I promise you, you know her. She will correct me if I don't say the right thing. This is what happened." He said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to bring you bad news, but we are missing a part on the plane, and with our safety inspection, it's the part." Now you tell me if I say exactly what he said, that makes the plane go up and come down.
That's what he said. Makes plane go up and down.
And he said when our safety check, it was missing.
So we sat there, and
we waited on that truck to come up.
Saw this truck pull up Southern Horizons,
and we
and I
looked at
said,
each other,
that
like,
must be him.
I guess we got the part back. Thank God. Make the plane go up. Lord have mercy. Flying is getting crazy.
It's getting crazy.
So
It
this
really is.
thing blew out, and I think they grounded. Did they not ground all of the 737s?
737-9,
Yeah.
I believe.
Yeah. So they grounded them. Alaska Airlines grounded
Well,
all.
hang on. Go back. I think he said it wasn't all of them. Did it say like a number? Like, I don't remember what the number was, but
Let's see.
I don't think it
It
said.
says the Boeing 739, from what I understand, all the ones that they have, they grounded all of those
Okay.
particular
It's
places,
up
not nationwide.
in the first part of the article, I believe.
Okay.
But anyway,
But
so
look at this video. Let's just watch the
737-9.
video. All the masks that you always hear about are down. They're flying. Look, you can see the stars. Good God Almighty.
That doesn't even look real.
This wasn't even the emergency door. We're at the end of the plane, so the emergency door's right there. It was just a piece of the plane.
Yeah. The window.
Okay, so there was no one seated there. There was thankfully no one seated near the window. Yeah, they just
Now, once again, I'm going to say something about the last thing we're going to talk about
Okay.
tonight, which is just telling you don't check out because this is, we're going to talk about those things down there because this is case in point here. You ain't going to have nothing happen, no matter how tragic it is.
You
that
did not
somebody's
just say ain't.
Ain't. I said ain't. I mean, I'm Southern. I'm going to say ain't till the day I die. Okay? There ain't nothing. I'm sure that's proper, real proper. Ain't nothing that's ever going to happen.
No, never. Ain't.
Good or bad, especially bad, that ain't somebody going to record it.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Everybody's talking about, well, if there was aliens, where's the recordings? Well, here's my question. If there was a fight among teenagers, where's that video?
Where's that video?
I ain't seen that video either. We're coming back to that.
Good
so
point.
this right here just shows you They're in the air. Side of the plane is gone.
Yeah.
They're looking outside. They're seeing the stars in the clouds.
It's technically was one window.
One window, but they're
don't
filming
exaggerate.
it. You know good and well it's got to be cold in there.
Gotta be.
And somebody filmed it. Somebody's always going to be filming, y'all.
Yes.
And that's why I'm telling you, when you start hearing these things and you start hearing narratives and there ain't no video proof of it, I'm very, very, I'm not even saying that I believe if I see a video nowadays. But if they ain't nobody bringing forth some kind of recording,
That's a little weird.
that's a little strange.
And we can talk about that later, but, I've heard all kinds of reasoning for why nobody could record, but yeah.
Exactly. All right, so let's get a little help here from Ricky from End Time Headlines.
Yes.
We just love Ricky, praying for him. He's been battling some stuff too. We're all battling. All the people that's the watchmen on the wall get hit right now.
And the listeners of the watch
Yes,
on the
yeah,
wall
they
are dealing
getting
with
hit
sickness.
too. They getting hit too. Oh. All right, so fears grow over an all-out Mideast war involving Iran, Israel, and U.S. In the last week alone, Israel has killed a senior Hamas militant in an airstrike in Beirut. Hezbollah has struck a sensitive Israeli base with rockets. The United States has killed a militia commander in Baghdad, and Iran-backed rebels in Yemen have traded fire with the U.S. Navy. That's just in last week.
Yeah.
Each strike and counterstrike increases the risk of the already catastrophic war in Gaza spilling over and across the region. And in the decades-old standoff pitting the U.S. and Israel against Iran and allied militant groups, there are fears that any one party could trigger a wider war, if only to avoid appearing weak. The divisions within each camp add another layer of volatility. Hamas might have hoped its October 7th attack would drag its allies into a wider war with Israel. I think beyond a shadow of a doubt, they hoped that. I believe this was a part of the plan. Was it what they knew that this was going to be such a horrendous attack on Israel that it would trigger such a massive response from Israel that it would cause the unification of the Arab and Islamic world to back Hamas. They will not allow them to come in, any of the refugees, but they are literally just turning this against Israel on a dime. And now we have our own president in our own country is backing away from their support for Israel. Sandy, we are
Bad idea.
We are getting ready, I believe, to go into active involvement with this war in 24.
I think there's no doubt that we are. And we've already talked about Israel stepped up what they were doing on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
While
Yeah.
part of the world was hopefully not paying too much attention, and they continue to escalate what they're doing. And it looks like our country is losing their mind at the moment. So who knows what's about to happen?
Well, you got Ukraine, that it is now estimated, and I was shocked when I read this, that Russia is even admitting that they've had 500,000 soldiers killed. 500,000.
Is it really that? I had heard up
It was
to
unbelievable.
200,000.
Half a million. They're saying 500,000 they believe is the number of Russians killed. Nobody knows the number of Ukrainians killed. So this is the strangest war. This is the strangest war because
weird.
we keep sending money, but we don't see anything
Nothing.
coming from that. There's just no video.
How convenient it was for them to
It's
basically,
unbelievable.
ram this down our throats when it first started. And I don't know how long that lasted. Here we were flying the Ukrainian flag on our cars and, and now, like you said, nothing.
Nothing. But yet, I mean, if that is true, that Russia's lost 500,000, Ukraine's probably lost more than that. So you're talking about probably...
It's unthinkable.
That's over 1 million people's been killed, and it's not even on the news.
Yep.
No, there's no reporters there. There's no embedded reporters. There's nobody reporting live from Ukraine in the middle of the battlefield.
Yep.
It's just the strangest war that we as a nation, not to mention all the other nations, have already sent over $100 billion to. And we don't see anything. I believe that, let me say this, Sam, that, we've talked on this show that we believe that we're in World War III already.
Certainly.
And some people have pushed back saying, well, no, this is not World War III. Look around. This is nowhere near as bad.
Yep.
But if you'll remember, in America, World War III had already started all around the world. And we...
World War II.
World War II had already started around the world. And we as a nation was just still living our good life until Pearl Harbor. And I'm telling you, while we're sitting here and while you're sitting wherever you're at, if you're not in Israel, Ukraine, Russia, or a few of these other skirmishes that are happening around the world, you're watching this show, you're watching your Netflix and all this kind of thing, and it's a distant thought. But I'm telling you, when the war comes to your shores, you'll know that this is a world war. And I believe when you put the Middle East, Ukraine, and what China's getting ready to do this year, it's hard to believe we ain't talking about 24 coming now. We're in it. We're in the year that our intelligence told us we're going to war with China.
Yes. And, just what you were saying about us being here in America, and it seems like it's distant and we're not personally dealing with these things. I've heard more than one person say, there are some bad actors out there that intend to do as bad or worse in America to Americans as what happened on October 7th in Israel. So definitely don't want to see that happen. But with all that we've done at the border with so many people that we don't know who they are or where they are in this country, who can say?
And I remember in the Cold War of the 80s, people were always thinking about Russia, coming in, Red Dawn, the movie and all that. Yes. But people would say, but come on, that's why they attacked Hawaii, because the main line, 48 states there, they'll never be able to invade our country. Well, let me tell you, they played the long game.
Yes.
And they're not invading us with airplanes and paratroopers falling out. They are invading us from the border.
Yes.
And they are cells being prepared to be activated. And we have sitting congressmen and senators calling for a new law to let them serve illegal aliens coming across the southern border, let them achieve citizenship by serving in the military.
When we said
we have lost our mind.
When we said all of those things in the 80s and 90s and throughout the 2000s, we never foresaw our country being so weakened and in disarray and the military going in the direction that it has been going.
I would never imagine it.
With, the numbers down so low, the recruitment.
Yes.
We just cannot replenish. And then some of our seasoned generals retiring with all that knowledge and all that experience, and others who took their place that did not have the same values. It's just a mess.
It is a mess. And then, Sandy, 1 week from today. Next week's going to be a very special broadcast, because 1 week from today is the beginning of Davos.
Exactly.
If you go to the World Economic Forum's website, and I believe it's weforum.org, this is what you'll see. The countdown is on. This is their website. Earlier. Davos, Switzerland.
Anybody want to place any bets about how many new words we get coming out of this conference? I think we got polycrisis.
Yeah, polycrisis is making a huge comeback in this one.
Oh, is it making a big comeback?
They are breaking down the details. They have an entire session that they're going to do all day long talking about, listen to me, the coming polycrisis.
Wow.
So they introduced that word, but this year they're going to tell you what it means. But you go there and you'll see the countdown. Look how excited they are. They're counting down even to the seconds.
They're so proud and happy and excited about this.
So they're getting all their private airplanes, private jets, fueled up, that's going to emit more carbon in this one trip than the entire city's do in their car in a month.
Well, I hope they certainly pay their carbon tax credits
for
all
they will.
This stuff.
But they're going to get their narrative. This is going to, my curiosity is what's going to be the narrative coming out of here.
Yeah.
Because that's what happened in 2018.
I'm afraid to ask and to find out.
Yeah. Well, 2018 was the year that they talked about A
You're
pandemic.
talking about 5 years ago.
5 years ago was
2019.
2018.
2018,
was
I'm
the
sorry.
year they started talking about we need a catastrophic event to happen to institute climate change rules and regulations. And lo and behold, the latter part of the next year was the wham.
You know, a simple, God-fearing, country, America-loving patriots that just want to take care of our families and serve God. We don't have this evil background and disposition. These people, they are playing the long game, and they've worked this down to formulas and checklists. They know how you are likely to react to most scenarios, events, and situations. And so they've gotten this worked out, which is why you had these diatribes about we need a crisis, we need a pandemic, we need something to kick this thing off.
Yep.
It's disgusting.
You're exactly right. And as we have said multiple times, what a strange country this Switzerland is.
Mm-hmm.
Switzerland, y'all, I'm telling you, is a demonic portal from hell. I do want to go there. I want to see it. I want to be on the ground there if I ever get a chance to. But I'm telling you, on one side of Switzerland is Davos, and on the other side of Switzerland is CERN. Yeah. I mean, you got one side declaring the worldwide narrative, and the other side is opening portals to the demonic realm to bring forth that narrative to be accomplished, which is the beast system.
Right.
In this ski town, this ski country, this neutral country. No, I'm telling you. Oh, and I found this out too. My son-in-law told me this. I had no idea that Switzerland is the most armed population in the world. They have a day that is a national holiday that the schools close, the government offices close, and everybody goes outside and shoots their guns. In Switzerland.
Definitely did not know that.
There's 183,000 underground bunkers
Right.
in Switzerland. What is going on in Switzerland?
Well, okay. Yeah. So you said, okay, all these things are going on in Switzerland. My mind immediately goes to, what you know from above the ground. God only knows what's happening underneath.
Say that.
Not just with these bunkers, there are probably tunnels connecting so many things.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't be hard probably to have an underground city, fortresses, laboratories, all that stuff.
Help me remember when this show goes off, I'm going to put down in the comments, in the description, a direct link to that video I did on Switzerland. It's going to blow your mind. If you hadn't seen it, it will blow your mind.
I need to say that.
Because the internet, did you know that the World Wide Web was invented in CERN? There's so much stuff that goes on there. So we're going to spend, this ain't all about CERN, all about Switzerland. But I want you to know that 1 week from tonight, live, is when the kickoff is for 2024. And I'm telling you, Davos 2024, they've got the wham behind them.
Yep.
They now are going to, this is the election year. This is the year that most people believe we're going to war like never before. What in the world is going to come out of Davos? And now to just be the opening night, but we may even cut in live to some of their little meetings that they have on the air. And I will certainly do a follow-up show on a wrap-up of the World Economic Forum.
So we haven't really seen Klaus Schwab on the scene that much for, I don't know, a number of months.
That's a good point.
So I guess he's itching and anxious to get back in the limelight unless he's already found someone to come and, take his place. Whatever.
Yeah, if there's ever been a James Bond villain, it's Klaus Schwab. And you're right. We were hearing from him all the time. And it's almost like he's gone in hiding.
I know. So we'll see if he bounces back on the scene to be the mouthpiece for a lot of this that's going to happen next week.
Let me just show you this, Sandy. America is not the only one who's having trouble with their military. Look at this. The United Kingdom and the United States have the same demise.
Yep.
The UK Royal Navy has so few soldiers, it has been forced to decommission ships so frigates won't go unmanned. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Overwhelming incompetence and corruption, which are a product of the establishment efforts, also just so happen to hamper their more nefarious agenda. So it goes on to say that drastic shortages of sailors have forced the Royal Navy to decommission 2 of its warships.
How about that? I wonder if they've ever had to do that in their history.
Unbelievable. Right. I mean, we have our military saying openly, Biden openly saying in an interview, we don't have any more of this particular munition to send to Ukraine because we've run out of supplies here. We don't have any either. So we're telling the whole world.
Tell the whole world.
Yeah. We don't have the munitions here to
As
send you.
As if they didn't think we were pathetic enough already right now,
and then
in certain ways.
Then you have our biggest ally in Europe that we fought alongside in World War II is decommissioning warships because how many people you got to have? How many people have you lost that you got 2 ships that cost probably in the millions and the billions maybe, and you got to park that thing because you ain't got enough sailors to put on it? It's crazy, Sandy.
Well, we know we've done stories here about in our own country how recruiters, they say numbers are down for recruitment and we cannot replenish.
Well, look at this right here. So. This right here will reiterate what you're saying. It says the same can be seen in the United States for U.S. military to begin 2024 with its lowest troop numbers in over 80 years. Its intake of recruits dropped by 22.1% in 12 months of March 23. Wow.
It should be no wonder with the condition that society's in, when the influences that our children have, with the things that they have to fill their time. Yes, there are a few good men. There are some young men who that's all they want to do is enlist and serve their country. But probably a much greater number that have no interest whatsoever. And if they did, they probably wouldn't meet the standards.
That's right.
That have been lowered in certain ways over the last couple of years.
That's true because I was meeting with a friend of mine that his son is high up in the military, and his son told him, I'm trying to walk the line here of confidentiality, but his son told him that he was in discussions with many leaders in the military that are saying to him, he told his dad, they are legitimately, Dad, talking about reinstituting the draft. And if they do, this is what they've said. They've had to lower the standards. They're going to remove the standards of certain weights. It can be overweight. Even things that, used to the flat-footed thing was what everybody always talked about. But, if you have an injury to your shoulder or something like that to your knee, they're potentially talking about waiving injuries and joint problems and all this because they need people. But this is the tragic thing. I don't even want to say it. Is one of the main driving forces of them saying that and lowering the standards is because when they run the scenarios of the computer-generated battle plans, the AI shows them that we lose so many lives that we're going to have to lower the standards to replace those lives. That is unbelievable.
Yes,
that is tragic. And that is being said.
Yes, it is. I hate talking about that. It's awful.
It's not coming anymore, y'all. It's here. 2024 is here. We're 6 years away from Agenda 2030. Yes. Davos is about to unleash their agenda for this year and beyond. And I believe this could be the most dangerous agenda they've ever released. Because I'm telling you, I want to say this. I am emphatically stating this. I do not believe Donald Trump is the savior. I do not believe Donald Trump is I don't want to say nothing about Donald Trump or Biden, Republican or Democrat. They're evil on both sides. But here's the reality. For whatever reason, this is not an endorsement of Trump, but for whatever reason, they do not want that man in the White House.
Oh, my goodness.
Because of what they got coming. There's a lot of people, Sandy, that say that, he's what they call that opposition.
Controlled opposition.
Controlled opposition. Some people say, he's playing a part by the cabal and all this. I don't know. We don't know because I don't know Donald Trump.
No.
But I can tell you this. The people that I know in the military have told me that Xi Jinping said he is holding off taking Taiwan until we get close to the election in 2024 because he and the rest of the world knows how divided this country is over that man.
There's going to be utter chaos here.
And they've already started pulling him off the ballots. The Supreme Court now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. I don't talk a lot of politics on here.
Right.
But this is a pretty big deal here because this could be tied to the shows that we've done before about civil war, about unrest in the streets. The Supreme Court has decided to take on the case of Colorado in the Trump ballot ban.
This is crazy.
On Friday, the Supreme Court agreed to decide whether former President Donald Trump can be disqualified from appearing on Colorado's Republican primary ballot over the actions related to the January 6, 2021 attack on the U.S. Capitol. So the big news here is that they've agreed. Now, this is what I'm hearing a lot of commentators say. They're saying, if this does not come back at a 9-0, you cannot take this man off. And you know, 4 of them hate him, hate his guts. But they're saying if they do not come back as a 9-0 and instead of a 5-4 in favor of putting him back on the ballot, that's just as bad as saying you can take him off the ballot, because that's going to cause both sides to rise up. You got one side saying, if we only had one more justice, we could have put him where he belongs. Another one saying, we got people that's trying to come against and take away our vote. I'm telling you, that's what they're stirring, Sandy. Oh, yeah. They're stirring the pot.
It's crazy. So we're, less than 11 months away from election. And obviously, this started before the end of last year, right at the end of last year. And it's just an intro into what this year is going to look like. But I think it's going to get worse and worse each passing week. Yeah. I mean, this is insanity to me that this is what this was your opening salvo. Yeah. I wouldn't have seen this one coming at all.
Well, here's the reality. Do you really want to support a move to remove anybody? I do not support 99% of the policies of our current administration. But I would never, ever, even if the crimes that he's accused of being committed, if he's the legitimate candidate, let the people still vote for him. Yeah. If they want to vote for somebody that they think is a criminal, let the people vote for him. Don't take away the people's right to vote for whoever they want to vote for.
Would you have ever imagined that they would choose this route and try to put...
No.
Me either.
No.
That's what I'm saying.
But you remember what I said on our 2024 prediction show? I hate to say it. I couldn't believe I didn't get flagged. Yeah. But I believe there will be at least one, maybe more, attempts on his life. Because especially if the Supreme Court quickly rules 9-0, saying you cannot take a sitting candidate off. That's just, you're talking about banana republic. You're talking about you're running for president and your Justice Department is suing to remove a man who is your number one opponent that could be the only one that could beat you.
Exactly.
And you're going to try to put him in jail. So that's a banana republic. So I'm telling you, if he gets a favorable ruling, they're going to do something to try to take him out, because for whatever reason, and some people in the live chat and everybody, and I agree, he's not a part of the establishment. He wasn't a politician. He's a businessman, all that. But it's more than that. Yeah. I think it's that he was the first one. See, you never heard anybody talk about deep state. You never heard anybody talk about what we're talking about now. Just think about what we led with tonight. The Defense Secretary.
Right.
Is in the hospital for 5 days in ICU. The president doesn't know. The deputy defense secretary doesn't know. But we're still bombing people. So who is bombing these people? What is the deep state? What is the control? Who are the ones that's really controlling this country? And when somebody comes in and calls them out, and they didn't like it when he said, I'm going to drain the swamp and all this. And I don't think most people, 99.9% of Americans, really knew what he was saying. Because he probably saw things that he would never say. He would never reveal that he saw. But I'm just telling you, this is not a go vote for Trump thing. That's not what this is. I'm just saying that, y'all, this is big. And for this movie Civil War to come out in April, that sort of based on a character similar to him, I'm telling you, they are ramping up
Yes.
for something bad to happen.
But at the same time that they are ramping up, it seems like more people are being stirred from their sleep. They're being slowly and some quickly awakened, and they're asking questions and like, hang on here.
Yep.
Just wait a minute. Some of this stuff doesn't even make sense. People you never would have thought you would hear saying things like this.
Yes.
So it's like the angrier they get and the more controlling they try to get, a certain sector of the public and society begins to wake up more.
Yes.
So there you go.
That's it, man. That's exactly right. While that's going on, this week, Putin unleashed a hypersonic missile in a deadly new wave of airstrikes on Ukraine, as UK intelligence claims Russia is on course to lose 500,000 troops on the front lines by the end of 2024. So this is just an image here of the result of the hypersonic missile. So they have taken it to the next level. They were not using hypersonic missiles. Now they are. And hypersonic missiles really basically can't be shot down.
Yeah. Kinzhal, is that what it's called?
Yes, yes. And this is still crazy to me that China has them, Russia has them, but we do not have them.
Exactly.
How does America not have supersonic missiles?
So I've heard multiple people say multiple times that we are far behind Russia in some of the weaponry and some of the technology. So is this an instance where we're seeing that?
That's what it looks like. I think it's a show of force.
I've heard some people say we can't catch up to them. We can't catch up in certain areas. Is that true?
I don't know, but it's appearing that way. But then you think about this, Sandy. There's another nuclear force out there that nobody's been talking about for a long time. When Trump was in office, he sort of shut him down. You remember that day that Trump walked across the demilitarized zone and walked into North Korea and shook his hand?
How long has that been?
That was like third year into his presidency, I think. No U.S. president had ever walked inside North Korea, and he walked across it, grabbed his hand and shook his hand and pulled him in like he does. But so what do you call him? Little Kim? I can't.
Does he call him Little? I mean, I've certainly heard people call him Little Kim.
Little Rocket Man or something like that.
Rocket Man.
Well, guess what? He's back.
Yeah.
And he's back with a force because
he moves in and out of the shadows.
Yes, he does. North Korea is doing combat missile tests in Ukraine, and here's how they're testing their military. The White House National Security spokesman, John Kirby, boy, he's something, claimed that
he's a piece of work.
Yes, he is. That North Korea supplied Russia with ballistic missiles that were used in attacks on Ukrainian troops. Russia has started using ballistic missiles supplied by North Korea to attack Ukraine. Washington and Kiev have claimed in an indication that Moscow plans to further expand its arms deals with regimes under sanctions in order to sustain its war effort. So Washington has alleged Russia was in talks with Iran to buy short-range ballistic missiles. The U.S. intelligence assessment is that Iranian missiles have not yet arrived in Russia, but that the deal will eventually be done. So here's what I want to say, is the purpose of this article is that all you hear about is, what are you going to do in retaliation against Russia? We're going to increase sanctions. Sanctions. That is so ridiculous.
It is.
Because Iran is sanctioned, North Korea is sanctioned. Russia don't care. They're violating the sanctions. Why? They're at war. And here's the thing, what the article is saying, Sandy, is Little Kim is looking at this as a perfect opportunity to test his missiles if they're effective. He don't want to fire them into South Korea yet. So he's sending them to Russia and saying, we think they can do this. Fire on Ukraine and let us know how they're working. So they're going back in North Korea and fine-tuning their missile technology based on the results of the missiles that they've sent to Russia to use in the Ukrainian war. What is North Korea planning for, Sandy?
Exactly. Okay, so you've got Russia building up. You've got China building up. You've got North Korea stretching their legs. You've got Iran throwing money all over the Middle East and
Yes.
their weaponry and their technology, while we look like we are imploding
Exactly.
in every conceivable way in this country.
We've gone woke. I mean, Russia, I'm not pro-Russia, but Russia's putting out ads of manly men in their military, the women just, doing their job, men doing their job, and they're fighting and all this. And we're making commercials about, drag queens recruiting new people in the military. Is there any wonder that our military is at the lowest level in 80 years? 80 years, the number's less than 80 years ago. You realize how much our population has grown in 80 years?
Exactly.
And our military is less than it was 80 years ago? Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
But that's where we're going. And North Korea is now, how many times have we heard North Korea, it is believed, according to satellite technology, has launched a test missile that went over South Korea and into the sea and all this. Now they've got the war in Ukraine. And they're literally, nobody's talking about this, they're literally saying, hey, we need to make sure these things work. So here, Putin, go test them on Ukrainian people and tell us, why are they doing that? Why are they testing it? Because I believe North Korea has never stopped believing, and this is the fact, it's not just what I believe, they have never stopped believing that Korea is one peninsula, that it is one country. They do not believe South Korea should be the one running it. They believe they did not lose the war. They pressed pause. Communists play the long game. Yeah. And they decided, right now we can't do it, so they backed up. And North Korea has never, ever given up what they think they should be running the show. And then you've got alliances with North Korea and China happening. He just took a train all the way to Russia and met with Putin in person. Remember that?
He did.
Loaded his car up on a train and took his personal car on a train because he was afraid he'd be shot out of the air if he got in an airplane. So now he's testing his missiles with Russia. Do you not think that when they met face to face, he said, hey, I got some missiles. You're welcome to them. You can have them.
Are you saying he brought the missiles with him on the train?
I'm thinking they brought. I know.
What if he did though?
Maybe. But what I'm saying is he showed them. Hey, this is what I got. If you'll help me scratch my back, let me. I need to test these missiles, and you need more missiles. So here, take these.
Well, let's just say these are dangerous times we are living in.
Yes.
You've got these people creating alliances, some new alliances, some are strengthening old alliances.
Yes.
But it's not just military. It goes across to financial. We've talked about BRICS many times.
Yes.
That's not going away.
No, that's getting bigger.
That's not going away. So we don't have a very strong position here in this country.
BRICS is exploding in growth. Yeah. Countries are lining up to join BRICS.
Yes.
Led by mainly, I know it's got Brazil and all, but it's really Russia and China.
Russia and China has got to be the main two.
This is a communistic.
India, they really have the largest population, if I'm correct. I think they're ahead of China by just a bit. If not, they're neck and neck. But so they're included in BRICS.
Exactly.
And we don't hear a lot from them, but they probably they're very technologically savvy.
Yes.
In that country.
They are.
Who knows what they have along the lines of weaponry and even space program. Certainly that's not talked about very much, but I believe they have some sort of space program in that country in that country as well.
Absolutely. And wasn't it interesting? Because we've talked about this show. If you hear us talk about watching a show, that don't mean we're endorsing that show, not endorsing all the content. But we do watch some shows, some because we just sort of like those kind of shows, but also for research.
Yes.
And one of the shows that we really like is called
For All Mankind.
For All Mankind. Mm-hmm. And if you watch it, spoiler, I'm not going to say too much of spoiler, but in this last one we saw, you know what it was called? Brazil. And it was like, how interesting that there was a plot that they were going to build Brazil into a major space and rocket program. And Brazil
Well,
is the B.
Two people were
In
seeking
BRICS.
to be a part of that, and they thought that with their knowledge and experience that they could help really bring that program in Brazil up to speed.
And who knows? Maybe Brazil has a space program, but I've never heard of Brazil having a space program. But this was really promoted that Brazil was big in the space industry. And so it is sort of like an alternate universe type show. So I'm sitting there thinking, B in BRICS is Brazil.
Yes.
And it's like, is this also a part of trying to tell us, hey, if you're in BRICS, you know, BRICS is the place to be where we'll give you our space technology. We'll share our information with you.
Hey, I don't think you're too far off base, okay? I think that's definitely a possibility.
Billy says BRICS now represents 45% of the world's population and 36% of the global GDP. That's insane. And it is really just starting.
Just starting. Like you said, all these people are clamoring to be accepted because I don't know how long or what the process is for consideration, but you've got them lining up. They see the writing on the wall.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know, I've sort of tried to stay away from this one, but this one's on the news everywhere.
Wow.
So
You couldn't avoid it a few days ago.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and hit it. There's new Epstein documents confirm that there are blackmail videotapes that exist that clearly show the faces of Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and many, many more. I'm not going to read a lot of this article because, believe it or not, this is also something that can get you flagged. Talking about Epstein. Okay, it's just insane. Okay. But the latest installment of the Epstein document dump, dropped on Monday, revealed explosive new allegations. And then it goes on to say that the bombshell testimony assert that there are tapes that clearly show the faces of Bill Clinton, Prince Andrew, and billionaire Richard Branson. And I'm going to read the rest of that. You can read it for yourself. I'm just going to skip down through here and let you go find your own research because there's a lot of words in there that I can't say on here. But I think everybody knows the story. And have you noticed that the biggest thing that they're trying to do is to make sure they throw Trump's name in there as well? And Trump is literally just in some pictures with him. And in that document dump, he's not listed there anywhere. I'm not saying that he's innocent. I'm just saying, and I'm not, by the way, we're not also saying that if you were on the list that you did the horrible thing that Epstein was accused of doing. That's not what we're saying. But I'm going to say that it is a little sketchy to me that he was convicted of that crime in Florida and was released quickly, and he still had all those parties. So they knew what he was convicted of, and they still went to the parties.
Yeah.
Y'all, I'm telling you, I don't care what you say. You can plead the fifth all you want to, but that ain't good.
No.
That's all I'm going to say about that one.
Yep.
Remember Hee Haw? Remember the show Hee Haw?
I remember Hee Haw.
They say, what we're going to play tonight, Grandpa? Y'all remember that? And he'd play. He always played that jug. And he'd go, that's all we got for tonight. What did he say? I can't
We're
even.
through playing
That's
now.
it. We're through playing now. Little humor for y'all there. And for you young people, you have no idea what we're talking about. Go to YouTube and watch Hee Haw episodes. Hee Haw.
Yep.
All right. Let's talk about the border a little bit here.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So this is something that we can't let go, y'all, because you need to know this. The FBI, and we don't trust them either, is saying that illegal aliens tried nearly 48,000 times that they're admitting to purchase firearms over the past 25 years.
They probably tried that in the last 3 years.
I know it. I know. That's what I was reading.
25 years?
Yeah, that's why I was reading this article. I was like, I'm going to read the numbers, but this is a joke.
Yeah, and I don't trust the FBI, and I for sure do not trust the CIA.
Yeah, that's true.
Good grief.
Is there any letters that we trust?
Let's see.
Any lettered organization out there that's called by the letters in government that we trust? Gun shops say federal background checks work, but it's difficult to know who is in the country lawfully.
I'll bet.
The FBI logged more than 47,000 attempts by illegal aliens to purchase firearms at gun shops over the past 25 years. January 2nd, Federation for American Immigration Reform reported the FBI currently has almost 14 million records of firearms applications that failed the national background check. Of these unique prohibiting events, the FBI index included 47,930 denied purchases by illegal aliens. So while the 13.9 million unique prohibiting events cataloged in the FBI database represents events, not individual illegal aliens, the data points to large numbers of migrants in the market for firearms. Whatever the total may be, one is too many. Now, here's what I'm going to say is this. All right, so you got 48,000 that was so brazen. They not only came in the country illegally, they literally went into a store to buy a gun and tried to run a background check with no information. And it's like they were, in their mind, they're so programmed to think America's going to give them whatever they want. I'll just go get a gun when I get there. So you factor that. That's just insane to me that they would even think that they would get a gun. But then you have to say, how many more people went in and ran the background check on themselves and then gave the gun to somebody illegal?
Sure. I think that's definitely possible. In this, I'm sorry, I just don't buy this 25-year period of time. I don't know why they chose that, but whatever.
Whatever. Let's move on to some other stuff that's so exciting.
Moving.
This is exciting. Oh, this always gets me excited. The World Health Organization head, Tedros, declares war on meat. You better back off my steak. I'm sick and tired of you trying to get my steak. And demands that nations transition to plant-based diets.
Demands?
Demands.
This is the same WHO that has been already given special powers by multiple governments around the world.
Exactly.
That we reported on not too long ago.
But look at his goal. He aims to accomplish this by next year.
Dear God.
All right, you got to take over.
Oh, somebody said that was Minnie Pearl, not Grandpa Jones.
Wait a minute, what?
Said we through playing now. And I believe she's right. Remember?
Who?
Minnie Pearl.
Minnie Pearl said that?
Big hat.
Oh, we got the tag hanging
Price
down?
tag hanging down.
Are you serious?
Playing now. I think that is correct.
Lulu Roman played the joke. Yeah, you're right. Man, I got school tonight. I got school on Hee Haw.
You got schooled. By S. Harden. Thank you, S. Harden.
All right, so had a little tickle in the back of my throat. It's about to drive me crazy. So if I have to get up and go over and cough up something, you got to take over.
Oh, dear God. I don't need any images of that. Thank you very
By
much.
2025, we intend to strengthen our respective and shared efforts. We affirm that agriculture and food systems must urgently adapt and transform in order to respond to the imperatives of climate change.
Dear God, is it not enough that the corn can phone home now?
Yeah, y'all remember
with a
that?
special whatever they put in it that is eventually getting into your body? I mean, I don't know.
Well, listen to what he says.
Can't do this.
He says, the director of the World Health Organization, our food systems are harming the health of people and planet. Food systems contribute to over 30% of greenhouse gas emissions and account for almost 1/3 of the global burden of disease. Transforming food systems is therefore essential by shifting for the healthier, diversified, and more plant-based diet. If food systems deliver healthy diets for all, we could have 8 million lives, save 8 million lives per year. Please. You ain't going to save 8 million lives per year just because you've done away with a hamburger. That is ridiculous.
What will the children do? We all know they live off of chicken nuggets.
Exactly. Hey, y'all remember the guy? Don't you forget this guy. This is the guy that locked you down all around the world. They're trying to move on and make us forget what they did. But I forgive people when they do me wrong, but I'm telling you.
It's a very touchy.
I'm not
it's
willing
very
to just
touchy
listen.
when you start taking a man's steak from him.
You better believe it. He won't tell me to follow the science. I followed the science, the real science. What you're really trying to tell me is follow stupidity. Let me just tell it like it is. That's stupidity. Humanity has been living off of meat since we've existed, or at least since the ark. When we came off the ark, I tell people all the time, one of my favorite verses in all of Scripture is when Noah came off the ark. And, we talk about the altar that he built and the rainbow. All that's amazing. But y'all missed the greatest part of that whole diatribe between Moses and God. Is when God, for the first time in the history of mankind, because man didn't eat nothing but plants, and God looked at Noah and said, kill and eat. That was the first time man ate a steak.
Right.
That's when the world changed. That's when a man began to be the master of his grill.
Yeah. Well, historians will tell you, I don't know at what point in time that they say this happened, but they say they can see when men begin to farm.
Right.
That basically they had been hunter-gatherers
Yes.
or hunters at that time, and they can see when man figured out how to, delve into agriculture. So whatever.
Exactly.
Now they want to take it away from us.
Well, let me just tell you, we've been telling you about when this thing goes into the next level, and you better know how to protect yourself. You better have some food. And you better, and a lot of people have sort of gone off the grid. They've learned how to plant. They've had some chickens and going sort of back to the old school way. But the ones that never left it was the Amish. And do you remember when the wham-wham was going all over, the Amish said, we don't want none of this.
They didn't want it.
And, they were persecuted and all of that. And, there's a lot can be said about that. But this right here, if you needed a news article to show you the overreach of government, by the way, you shouldn't need anything at this point. But look at this. This happened, I believe, just this week. Government raid on Amish farm, an attempt to criminalize independent farmers. Look at this. This is unbelievable when you hear this article. There was a raid on a popular Amish farm on suspicion of selling, quote, illegal milk.
What state did you say that was in?
Didn't. Let me see.
Okay.
I haven't read that part yet.
Okay.
I remember reading it, but I can't remember where it was. Pennsylvania. It says illegal milk, among other products, has inspired widespread outrage over what critics call an egregious example of government overreach. On January 4th, the Pennsylvania State Police, along with officials from the Department of Agriculture, served the Miller's Organic Farm in Lancaster a warrant for claiming the public had been exposed to a dangerous foodborne pathogen, is what they're saying. The warrant served on farm owner Amos Miller, which came in connection with 2 alleged cases of foodborne illness, sought, among other things, illegal raw milk and raw milk products, including eggnog. The warrant added that Miller had never licensed his retail operation. Listen to those words. He had never licensed his retail operation. In other words, he had never put his business in the system. Yeah. He was off the grid with his own cows, with his own produce, and his milk. Look, just because you saw that they accused him of having foodborne diseases doesn't mean there was foodborne diseases in there. When they can say anything they want to. The story here is not that. The story is they came in, the state police and the FDA came in, the local FDA came in and seized, the article goes on to say, took everything, their food.
They took everything.
They took the milk and all the food from them. So you ask yourself a question. When the rubber meets the road and some of the stuff that people are predicting might happen in this country, and somebody finds out that you got food and there's a shortage of food, I won't even paint that picture.
Yeah.
But better know how to hide it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, Sandy? We won't say too much here, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, apparently, if you're the Amish, you better know how to.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Yeah. It's all about that control, isn't it?
It's all about that
control. Got to have you under our thumb.
And it doesn't stop there. It goes on to say that it's not just happening there. In North Dakota, farmer Peter Bartlett, whose family owns Bartlett Farms, sells raw dairy products, and told the Epoch Times that it seems the government's actions aren't driven by health concerns, but rather control over the nation's food supply.
There you go.
Regulators will tell you this for the safety of the American public. But if that were true, then why don't they go after every Mexican or Chinese restaurant after people eat their food and get sick? The truth is they feel threatened by anyone acting independently from the system. And that is why the government has decided to target this particular farm to make an example of him, to scare people from growing their own produce, raising their own chickens, raising their own cows.
Look out, look out, look out.
The bottom line is they do not want you out of the system.
No, you got to be in the system.
They want mom and daddy to be the government.
Yep.
They want mom and daddy to be the government. They want to be your spiritual leader. They want to be your pastor. They want to be your doctor, your medical information. They want to control your money, and they want to control your food supply, which ultimately means they want to control you.
Yep.
That's why this show is called The Big Picture.
Yes.
We're trying to tell you the big picture.
Come on.
Wow. Tell you what else to doing, Sandy. Hit. Here it comes.
Yeah.
The Biden administration has now ramped up its finalizing of the standards for energy-efficient refrigerators and freezers, and now including fans. Remember we told you about ceiling fans? They literally are going through with new regulations on ceiling fans. The Department of Energy, DOE, will continue to move quickly in 2024. Remember what I told you about 2024? I told you this is when it's going to rapidly happen.
Yeah.
Remember that? Have I not said that multiple times?
You've said that many times.
This is the turbo year.
Yes, you've been talking about this year.
And this is what they said. We'll move quickly in 2024.
Yep.
Together with our industry partners and stakeholders to update and strengthen outdated energy efficiency standards, which is critical to innovation, more consumer options, and healthier communities. United States Department of Energy quietly finalized propositions to reform standards for refrigerators, freezers, including fans, to be more energy efficient overall to help fight global emissions, so they say. I mean, I don't even know what to say to this. They've come after gas stoves. They've come after gas ovens. They're now coming after ceiling fans. They're coming after refrigerators. They got new regulations for dishwashers.
Is that what we heard when we were on our trip? There was some instance, and I looked at you and I was like, really?
I don't remember.
Something about appliances.
Yeah.
While we were gone, but it's just ridiculous. I mean, people are getting tired of being pushed into the corner over all of these different things. We've talked about your homeowner's insurance rising. If you're renting, your rent has certainly gone up, or it's about to. Your car insurance, your taxes, the cost of food. It's just, I don't know how some people are making it.
Well, I'll tell you, and this is a good place for me to just tell you, you need to make sure your heart's right with God.
Come on.
Because ultimately, when you're in the family of God and you know that you are forgiven, your name's written in the Lamb's Book of Life, you operate by the kingdom's system. That don't mean you ain't gonna go through stuff and that you're gonna have to struggle through some things, because God's people has to go through things. But God's got you. And you need that peace that passes all understanding. And that only comes from Jesus Christ. And we encourage you to always call on Jesus. And we unashamedly will tell you that.
He is certainly our hope. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, it's been a while since we talked about East Palestine, Ohio. How weird is this? I don't know if you've heard this one, but a truck carrying hazardous materials from East Palestine, and poor folks, bless their heart, crashes in Ohio almost 1 year after the catastrophe.
Oh, my goodness.
a dual-axle tanker truck carrying hazardous material taken from the site of the East Palestine train derailment crashed and rolled over early Tuesday, spilling a small amount of its contents back on the ground in Ohio again. And this is an image of the truck turned over. Inside that tanker is stuff that they've been still pulling out a year later from East Palestine. And by the way, guess what? Biden has still not ever been there.
No visit.
Nobody from his administration.
Hope they're not still waiting. So
He just had that time.
dioxin and all that whole debacle that happened and the spreading of these hazardous materials through that fire and all of it.
Yeah.
You know, the really bad thing is when they decided they were going to burn it.
Yeah.
That's really what made a gigantic mess. But back then, and I don't know if that is the absolute case, people were saying they've ruined the soil for who knows how long. But they're going to be able to plant. What was that?
We just had the lights blink.
Oh, my goodness.
Because there's storms coming through here. So let me just go and say right now, as far as I know, we're still live. If all of a sudden we go live, I'm hoping that doesn't mean that somebody's raided us or anything like that. Don't be afraid. That means the power went out. So
exactly.
It just blipped in here, so that's why we're saying that.
The winds are supposed to be pretty high, and our power went out at home on Friday night just from high winds. So I hope that does not happen here. But, some
of y'all probably freak out. Oh, God, they got him. They got him. A drone attack against Birmingham, Alabama. Nope. That's just a wind.
Oh, my goodness. But these poor people in this area, you know, some of them were having skin irritations, rashes, getting sick, having medical situations. I don't know if it's safe for people to stay there. But I know that, you know, a lot of people didn't have any choice. Even if some of them wanted to leave the area, there's probably no way that they could have.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to rapid fire this, and we're going to bring Uncle Jimmy in.
Ah, Jimmy.
But this just right here, this guy right here is just as a work, man. He's the director of the United Nations. United Nations demands $150 trillion from countries to fight climate change. Did you hear that number? Demands $150 trillion. The United Nations is demanding that taxpayers around the world cough up a staggering $150 trillion to fight man-made climate change, which, you know, we believe is also fabricated. The UN made the demands in a new report published in the Department of the Economic and Social Affairs. The agency claims that it needs global governments to commit to handling over $5.3 trillion per year to the bureaucratic agency. According to the report, the UN needs the $150 trillion in order to save the planet from global warming by complying with Agenda 2050. This is a new one. So I think they've already feel like they're going to get 2030, so now they're throwing in 50 from the World Economic Forum. So that maybe that's one of the things we're going to hear about from the WEF is Agenda 2050 now. But $150 million. I want to remind you. Trillion, $150 trillion. I want to remind you, that is not money that just comes out of the air. That is citizens paying taxes, sending this to an unelected cabal, basically.
Exactly. You know, when Trump was president and he raised a stink about those Paris Accords.
Oh, yeah. Rolled us out.
Maybe we need him to come back and
throw
a fit over this $150 trillion.
That's why they don't want him back in, y'all. The very first day that Biden became president, he put us back in the Paris Accords. Very first day. Goodness. And what has it done for us? We are the predominant people giving money. How much do you think the United Nations really thinks that America is going to pay of that $160 trillion?
Yeah.
America's going to pay the lion's share of that.
We will pay the lion's share of it. And think about, 5 and 10 years ago when they were telling Americans how much we needed to pay and how much more pollution China was producing, and yet hardly paid anything towards these budgets.
Exactly. Speaking of China, one more article, then we'll bring Uncle Jimmy in here. It was revealed this week that the Bill Gates Foundation has poured millions of dollars into, guess where? Ding, 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 ding. Chinese government organizations in 2022. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation paid out or approved for future payment roughly $23 million in grants to Chinese government organizations, not even industries, Chinese government organizations during 2022. Tax documents have revealed. It says that the nonprofit listed grants to over 20 different Chinese entities, including the government agencies of China labeled foreign government on its 2022 tax forms. The majority of the grants were projects related to public health research and analysis. You remember the lab in Wuhan, something like that? Recipients included the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Affairs, from the People's Republic of China, Academy of Science, National Health Commission, Ministry of Science and Technology of the People's Republic of China. So you got to ask yourself, he's buying up farmland all over our country, and he's funding their government.
Buying up. He is the largest owner, the owner of the largest amount of farmland in this country, right?
Exactly. 100% true. Well, Sandy,
yes.
I hear him coming.
Oh, here he comes. Jimmy! The crowd loves Uncle Jimmy.
Supernatural AI update. Don't you love that picture of me and you?
No, I absolutely don't love that picture.
That's one of your favorites, I can tell.
That was when I was trying brown-haired Sandy out.
What was her name? Never mind. Let's move on.
Another topic for another day.
A little inside joke there. Well, the first U.S. moon lander in 50 years.
Yep.
Got in real trouble today and could not turn to charge its batteries towards the sun.
Oh, dear God.
And the narrative is, right before we went online, update, he ran out of juice. And he ain't going to make it.
Oh.
He ain't going to make it.
They already determined he's not going to make it?
That's what they're saying. He ain't going to make it. He ain't going to make it. So this article was thinking that, still might make it, but update, things are not looking good for the Peregrine lander. The first U.S. lunar lander to be launched into space is more than a half a century, is in serious trouble. The lander, dubbed Peregrine 1 and built by the Pittsburgh-based private space company Astrobotic, launched on a United Launch Alliance Vulcan rocket. The rocket's maiden voyage from Cape Canaveral earlier this morning. Unfortunately, according to a recent statement shared by Astrobotic on X, can we stop saying formerly known as Twitter? We know that, okay? Every article says that. It makes me sick. An anomaly occurred which prevented Astrobotic from achieving a stable sun-pointing orientation. The issue is making it difficult for the spacecraft to fully charge its battery, which could herald serious issues. Just over an hour later, they offered up the following statement saying the unstable position, if proven true, threatens the ability of the spacecraft to soft land on the moon. So it's a no-go, Sandy. Bless their hearts, they're not going to make it.
Are you just goading me? Is that what the story is? You're just goading me to delve into more conspiracy stuff?
Yes.
So we can't have a decent battery, decent enough to turn, what are they called? The panels?
Solar panels.
Solar panels to recharge a battery, but I'm hearing reports of people seeing craft from Earth in their telescopes flying near the moon. I don't know if any of you are seeing the same and reading the same stuff that I am. I'm I'm sure most of you don't know who Mr. MBB333 is on YouTube.
I bet you some of them do.
Or follow him. I'm sure a few of you do. But I don't look at him often, but he has had a few stories of people saying that they're looking in their telescopes and they see fast-moving craft, and they're not necessarily talking about disc-shaped UFOs flying in the vicinity of the moon. And
now, Sandy, I have to interview you right now.
You're going to interview me?
Yes. Are you saying, Miss Ragland, publicly on these live airways, that this whole thing about we're trying to take a unmanned craft to the moon and it didn't work out?
It is in preparation for us going back to the moon because we lost that technology that
Supposedly.
we had back in 1969.
But are you saying to us tonight, Miss Ragland, that your sources are telling us that we already have bases there and that there's already crafts hovering around the atmosphere of the moon? Is that what you're saying? I'm just wondering, Miss Ragland.
Oh, boy.
You don't have to answer that if you think it will incriminate you. But I think you just answered it.
Look, I think most of the people that are here with us tonight, watching us on the big picture, have heard that there are bases on the moon. Oh, no, they're not exactly all on the surface of the moon. They're underneath the surface of the moon. All of these things. I'm not saying that I believe all of these, but I sure do hear a lot of talk like this while my government is telling me, man, we sure hope we can get back to the moon. Do you know how we did in 1969? And this is how many years later? And we've got to figure out a new technology and struggle and scrape.
Y'all do know
to get back there?
That is literally what they say, that we lost the technology. We did it multiple times. We didn't even have, nobody at home even had a digital calculator yet. But we lost the technology. We can create AI and deep fakes and do all this kind of stuff, but we don't know how to go back to the moon as with a manned flight.
Well, let me ask.
Is that not the stupidest thing you ever heard? If we went there, that we can't go back?
Since we're just all on this line of thinking, how many of you remember not that many years ago when Donald Trump was president that he announced that we were going to mine asteroids?
Yep.
Asteroids. Please chime in if you remember him saying that.
I remember.
This wasn't that long after he announced that we were going to have a space force. And then in about 2 short years later, we suddenly had a space force.
And they mocked him and made fun of him. And do you remember they were doing a press conference and somebody asked somebody, what do you think about the Space Force? And they laughed and said, is that a conspiracy theory? And they had to tell that person in the government, no, really, there is something in your government called the Space Force. And then she went, that's real? We really got a Space Force? That's how bad it was. But now we have a Space Force. And going back to that show, For All Mankind, the whole premise of this season is mining an asteroid.
They're going to not capture an asteroid, but they've put burners on the backside of an asteroid, and they're going to get it into Earth orbit. So it's a lot closer to Earth because it's closer to Mars now, which is a place where they have a base. They have a city called Happy Valley. Yes, I'm caught up on For All Mankind, CJ. And so this is crazy. We have a struggle between Earth and Mars. The colony on Mars, Happy Valley, they don't want the asteroid to go into Earth orbit so that Earth
Don't
can...
tell them everything. You'll ruin it.
Okay. But yeah.
Some people won't
so it's a whole thing about an asteroid being mined in this season.
Now, when we was on our little getaway, Sandy got her first experience in an Uber. That was your first, right? You'd never done the Uber?
No, it's my second.
Second, okay. So we're doing the Uber, and I told her, the car came up, and I said, hey, you can get a chance to ride in the Tesla. So we rode in a Tesla.
That was cool.
And we was talking to the guy about the Tesla and all this. And he turned on the autopilot and took his hands off, and we was freaking out because it turned, got in the lane, waited for the light to change the green arrow, made the turn, took us all the way to the port without him touching anything. He's just, using his phone while he's doing all that. But it was wild. But we were talking about, he was talking about how you don't have to, one of the things I love about my car, listen to, this is how people get sort of brainwashed in this. If there's a recall or if something happens that I need to change it, there's no motor, it's all a computer. So just like your phone or your laptop, we just get a notice that it's time for an update.
Got to give updates.
And we just press update and it downloads from the internet, the update. Well, guess what they're running into now? Look what happened to the Ford one.
Oh, no.
The blue screen of death.
I have not seen this story yet. Okay.
The famous blue screen of death. Ford's car software updates, fails, and gives a message, your vehicle cannot be driven. Gone are the days of simply putting the key into the ignition and going on a Sunday stroll. Modern vehicles are now smart, in quotations, and giant rolling computers on wheels, and must be constantly connected to the Internet of Things. You're going to hear more about that.
IoT, Internet of Things.
Remember the whole thing about the Federal Communications bill that was just passed. It was passed 3-1. I think it was 2-1 on the FCC, giving the FCC power over the infrastructure of the Internet of Things. That they would have the ability to oversight of the Internet of Things, our FCC. Is it FCC? Yeah, communications. And they have the ability to turn off anything that's connected to the Internet of Things. Now watch this. When a car fails to update, well, it may leave you stranded. And somebody gives a screenshot of their car, and it's a screen that says, update not successful. Your vehicle cannot be driven because the software glitched and the car was bricked.
Wow, I wonder how that goes over with your boss. He's wondering where you are at 9:30. Well,
I was coming in. I was trying to get an update.
I was going to be on time, but got that blue screen of death.
My car's bricked. I can't get in. Can you imagine spending $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 on a vehicle because you think you're doing so good, you're working for the environment and all this, and all of a sudden you realize I can't go nowhere because my software update didn't work.
Well, did you already show the video or talk about the man who had the problem with his Tesla battery?
That we were. Oh no! I didn't show that video. I don't think I did. Maybe I did, but I don't think I did. Where he was trying to sell it. Yeah, I can't remember if we covered that or not. But there's a man had a Tesla, and his battery went bad. It's $27,000 to replace the battery, and he's like, I can't afford that. I got to just sell this thing as is. Somebody else might want to take it. So somebody offered him $20,000 to take it as is, which is insane to me, knowing they're going to spend $27,000 to replace the battery. But when he went to sell it, he couldn't sell it because the AC coolant had spilled into the battery, corrupted the software, and they couldn't get in there to transfer ownership. He couldn't achieve bringing out the ownership document from within the vehicle because it wouldn't start up. So he's stuck with a lemon, a Tesla.
A $47,000
that he can't do anything with.
Paperweight.
Unbelievable. This is the world we live in.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, staying on this line here of this great technology that we have, it's just so amazing. And they're just taking jobs left and right. Amazon's humanoid warehouse robots will eventually cost only $3 an hour to operate. That won't calm workers' fears of being replaced.
I guess not.
Look at him. We covered this. We had a video on a couple of weeks ago. These are the actual robots that go over and open the bins, put things in the bins, and put them on the conveyor belts. This is literally what we would call a warehouse job that is gone now. And they only have to pay to operate those robots $3 an hour. There ain't nobody in the world going to work for $3 an hour. But
that's not even a forever because, they have the upfront cost of buying the robot. But after a while, I don't know how long, but that pays itself off. I don't know how long these robots can be, there till they have to be replaced or maybe have some upgrades or whatever. But this is a big problem.
Big problem.
Big problem.
Big problem. Sandy, I believe this next story, this is the final story, by the way. I'm going to show you a video clip tonight that's a new video clip that we did not have the last time that we did the update when we were in the Miami airport. When we came back from our trip, we was in the Miami airport, and we was trying to get people to talk about it. Nobody wanted to talk about it. And it was strange to us that it was like everybody was just following this narrative. There's nothing to see here. Some kids got in a fight in the mall, and they called, we heard 60. But today on Joseph Z's program, he said it was actually over 100 cop cars, over 100 that actually showed up.
Had to be even more than that, officer-wise.
Oh, yeah,
right?
officer-wise, yeah. So they're saying now over 100 actual police cars were there outside of this mall lined up with their lights on and cops just walking around everywhere. And, of course, the rumor was these were what went viral was 8 to 10 foot giant creatures, aliens, Nephilim, whatever. And then, of course, no. It was just some teenagers had some sticks and some firecrackers. That's all it was.
Fireworks.
We shut the power down. We shut the airport down. We had black helicopters flying, all of that. But we're going to show you a video that I'm going to use Joseph Z's video that he did on it. But before we do that, we hadn't really talked to anybody about this on the show today. I want to just make sure everybody knows how to go to LarryRagland.com. Very, very easy to remember. It's also down in the description. And when you click on LarryRagland.tv, it's just a section there. It's like an all-inclusive section. Has all of our previous shows there. You can also see our mailing address if you'd like to send us a blessing, an offering. Some of you have asked about our first fruits that we talked about. Maybe you want a first fruits to our ministry. There's no pressure to do. There's never any pressure to give anything to us. But if you feel led to do that, there's our address. It's also in the description below. You also, from the website, you can do a one-time gift. You can become a monthly partner. Multiple different ways of doing that. Read my article. I am a contributor to the Epoch Times that we use here on our show. You can watch our television ministry that we have, the first season, all 13 episodes, a direct link there. And you can get a copy of our book, I See Greatness in You, that is really beginning to pick up some momentum. It's touching a lot of people's lives around the world. It's our story. It's our ministry story. It's how we got where we're at today. And it's just a miraculous thing that God did in our lives. And you can, of course, go to our merchandise, get some of our merchandise there. And all of our social media links are there. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram. I need to change that. It says Twitter. I need to put an X on there. I can see that right now. But, yeah, that's all at LarryRagland.tv, LarryRagland.tv. All right, so let's go back to this. This is the article that we used when we were in the airport.
I want to note, Trinae Neely is saying, I still have not heard anything about this on the news. Thank you for saying that, because even before we were in the Miami airport, we hadn't seen anything in the mainstream news. No,
not even there. On the local news there, they were not saying anything. Now, I'm not saying, I know they eventually did, but it was to debunk. It was to carry the narrative.
On YouTube, since we were at the airport, I have seen a lot of these small local CBS and NBC news channels, news programs doing their little bit on it, especially in the Miami area. But at the time, I hadn't seen even that.
Hey, before we do this article, do you have anybody you want to bring in the program?
You mean someone related to Uncle Jimmy? Like his cousin Cosmo?
Oh.
That's green, so you can't really see. He is actually green, but since we use a green screen in here, he appears to be blue.
Real quick, just to show you. That's what he really looks like. I wanted people to see what he really looks like.
Hello, my name is Cosmo.
Cosmo. Now, watch how Cosmo miraculously goes to nothing but eyeballs. Cosmo.
But he's just a friendly alien. Yeah. He wasn't nowhere near as scary as these guys in Miami,
he's still a demon, because the aliens are demons. Come on.
Exactly.
Come out of here. Come out in Jesus' name.
Yes. So, again, speculation. The stories are all over the place. We tried to walk the line. When we were reporting this, we were trying to report what we had seen and heard, not present that we absolutely believed any of this was true, any part of this was true.
They had a guy come out and say he was there, he saw the aliens appear and then disappear.
We actually talked about him when we were at the airport. We didn't show the clip. We just spoke about it.
But he came back and recanted it.
He recanted
He
his
said
story.
he had made it all up and all this. Now, our minds automatically say, okay, well, maybe he did. But then we also think, did somebody get to him?
Did somebody get to
Did
him?
somebody threaten him? You know, that's just, I'm sorry, that's where our minds work. Probably the way your mind works,
I've
too.
made you into a conspiracy theorist, haven't I?
I think we've become conspiracy factual people because the conspiracy theorists are batting pretty close to 1,000. Space aliens attack on against Miami. Social media reports creatures at the mall and massive police response. Now I'm going to show you this is the video that we showed you from the airport. And
I think you had a 7-second clip that we used.
I want to say, I think it's this one here, but I'm not sure. This is the too big one. It's the big one. But that's what you showed. I'll show this a little bit. This is basically for people who hadn't seen this or to remind you. This is what happened. Look at all those police cars.
It's pretty loud.
This is somebody covering this
Una llamada toda la
From a
unidad
high-rise
de la
high-rise
ciudad.
building. Look at all those. As
Across
far
the
as you
street.
can see.
If you don't know, this is called the what is it called? The name of it's a Bayside.
The Bayside.
Bayside Marketplace is what this
Dozens
is
of
called.
police officers swarming
This is when they covered it, and they're saying police officers saying that it's just teenagers fighting. This is a shot of people
4
running.
teens are in jail this afternoon.
Ensued here
fun
at
to run
Bayside after a group of teens social media last night showing that massive police presence. According to arrest reports, police say a large group of teens started causing a riot inside the mall and were lighting loud fireworks. They were entering businesses, possibly armed with sticks, causing damage inside stores and just creating panic for people inside Bayside. Now, as officers tried to control the situation, they tell us they had to shut down Biscayne Boulevard for 6 blocks until that all clear was given. A group of 50 teens also caused a disturbance at a nearby 7-Eleven downtown. One victim in the chaos told police that a teen threw something at his car, and when he got out to check it out, he...
Now, I'm going to ask a question before I show you this video from Joseph Z. Yes, these kids could have been running out of fear of being arrested, running out of trying to get away from a fight. But when you look at that video of them running, they come running, they're running, and then they're continuously looking back.
Let's just add.
Like someone's chasing them.
This is a video of people running. I've never been to Bayside Marketplace. I don't know if that's what it looks like. It's a video of probably Bayside Marketplace. Is it actually from? Was it date stamped? I mean, I'm down to that now, okay?
Yeah.
I'm down to, is what you're showing me even what happened on this day at this time? But I would like to add this, and I would like to ask everyone out there, have you seen or heard people saying that they were detaining people, not letting them leave the mall until their phones had been searched and their pictures gone through to see if they had pictures or videos of whatever happened in that mall? I've heard this multiple times. Don't know if there's any truth to it.
Yep, that's a good point. And then I go back to what I said early in the program when I was previewing that we were going to do this. When is I hate to see these fights that kids just video of kids fighting. It's a viral thing now where they just
It's
get
not
in a
just
fight.
kids.
It's not just
we
kids.
see reports on the news all the time of adults standing by videoing while other adults are being attacked and beaten up, if not killed.
So my question is, everybody keeps saying, the skeptics keep saying, okay, if there's 8 to 10 foot creatures, where's the clear video? Everybody's got a phone. Well, here's my question, and I agree with that. But here's my question: where's the video of the fight? Now, I'm not saying that it won't come out,
Very good point.
but I've not seen it. A video of the fight. If it was a big enough fight to cause over 100 police cars and black helicopters, and no telling me officers were in there. If it was that big, you don't think some person ran behind a column, stuck his head around there, and videoed the fight? There's no video of the fight. So therefore, I push back on you saying there's no video of the creatures. Well, there's no video of the fight. So, but there are some blurry videos of what possibly could be creatures I saw one today on Joseph Z. I encourage you to go watch the whole thing that he did on it. He shows a video that I had not seen either yet, Sadie, and it was a video of a shadow feature, not the blurry one that's walking in front of the mall, but another one that was very clearly looking like, whether it was AI or whatever, something about 10 foot tall, walking very clearly. Don't know. We do believe demonic spirits are manifesting. We do believe the Nephilim is real. We do believe that disembodied spirits, demons, are operating in the spirit of deception. But there are at least blurry videos of that, but there's not even any videos, period, of a fight. Where are those videos?
Very good point. There's all kind of speculation, even, the electromagnetic frequencies and all of that shut down the phone so that they don't operate. I don't know. I mean, we have reports from our own government saying when a craft was hovering over a nuclear site that they lost total control. They had no control over any panels, any buttons. They couldn't do anything because of electromagnetic interference or whatever, supposedly. So if they were there, that's a believable excuse as to why phones might not have worked.
Now I want to say one other thing. It is completely possible that nothing happened.
Nothing happened.
Nothing. There was nothing in the mall.
Are you trying to say this was a false flag in the sense that it was truly false and they were just running a scenario?
It is very possible.
A LARP, a live action role play was taking place right before our eyes and we were all totally fooled?
And the distraction was this crazy idea that there was 8 to 10 foot aliens and then / kids fighting. So there'd be two narratives competing against each other, but nothing really even happened. And it was a distraction from something else that's going on. Because how many times have we seen crazy news things be in the news while something really important is being done by our government? And it's put at the bottom or the back end of the broadcast.
Is that referred to as the shell game? Look over here. But in all seriousness, there are so many things going around. I don't know. Are you going to show?
Yeah, let's show this
not
video.
just the Joseph Z, but also the young man whose father.
Yeah, this is what it is. This is. I fast forward. Here's Joseph Z, great friend of mine. He's been on our program, and I'm going to be on his program this month.
So exciting, guys!
So I'm so excited.
He's going to be on Joseph Z.
He's asked me to come on the show the latter part of this month a couple of times, so I'm very, very excited about being a part of Joseph Z's program. But this one right here is a video, and you never know what's true and what's not true. But this is a video of a man who says his father. And one thing that I sort of think gives this credit is he says his dad's running for sheriff. And I'm like, couldn't that be verified? Who's running for sheriff? But he says his dad is a policeman and he's running for sheriff. And he called him on his phone, FaceTime, and asked him, he's a policeman at the Miami Police Department. And he asked him after this event had happened, can you tell me what happened at the Miami Mall? Let's watch this.
What was going on in Miami when he was on duty? Now notice how this goes. Let's watch this clip.
My dad's a police officer in Miami, and I mean, he's even running for sheriff, and I just talked to him. He didn't say anything about that. Hey, did you, have you been seeing the alien stuff? Did you see that at Bayside?
Not allowed to talk about it.
You're joking. You're joking. Did they tell you not to talk about it?
How many times do you want me to slice the pie? I'm not allowed to talk about it.
What?
I do know what you're talking about, but I'm not allowed to talk about it.
Can you at least say, whatever? So they're saying it's like a fight broke out. Why did they send so many police cars? Are you serious? You can't say any?
Nothing.
You're no help, dude.
I'm sorry.
Now, here's the fast.
Wow. So I have not independently verified if this guy is the one running for sheriff, but you would think that could be easily verified. But this is just one of so many videos going out
Yes.
that just makes you think something happened. But whether it was a distraction, something really manifested in there, there was really a teenager fight and they just took it over the
Here's
edge.
the
But
thing.
something is not being told.
Here's the thing. You want to involve that many police officers, people in general, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
Maybe if you told the entire, every police officer, do not talk about it. Somebody's going to talk
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now
at
this
some point.
this is one other thing, Sandy, that I think you would want to see.
Yeah,
And
I
then
probably haven't. I had already seen the one you just played like probably 2 days ago, but I have not seen this right here.
Now, this right here is, like I said, I know now we're in the days of AI. We're in the days of you can make anything, but this is interesting.
The other day that it sparked all that chaos down there, and I think I found something, so just bear with me here. Okay, so this is what I did with the footage. I put it in black and white and then really slowed it down as
This is
well
a different
as turned
angle
down some
than
of
what
the
we've seen.
brightness.
This is floor
Watch right
from the ground.
here. You can
See right there?
see something
Mid-screen, you
really
see that?
tall and kind of translucent. Now here I'm going to back it up so you can slowly see it.
It's
See
above
how
that
tall
first
that
floor.
is?
See the height?
And it's walking in front.
I don't know if you can see it between the palm trees right there.
Oh,
You
yeah.
see it. And then it kind of disappears into the darkness. Now, here's the video where I edited it with color. You'll see it right there. See it?
There.
By the
Mid-screen,
palm tree.
mid
And now
photo.
it's going to walk in
See that
front
subtle
of
figure walking through the lights?
that building.
It's
You
about
see
10
how it's
feet
kind
tall,
of translucent and really tall?
maybe more.
And then it disappears.
Okay, can we pause
There
that
we
there?
go.
Yes.
I have not seen this. This image, and I would love to, I don't know, somehow get closer to the screen or whatever. This does not have a large bulbous head that we heard about the Las Vegas
Yeah.
figures, creatures,
Yep, yep.
whatever. I mean, I'm not going to say this looks like a man, but this looks more,
Human.
it looked more human to you
Yes.
as well.
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, interesting.
Yeah. There again, could be anything.
Yes.
But it's, a lot of, I've seen in the live chat, a lot of people throwing out Project Bluebeam. It's a very real thing. Holograms. I mean, listen, people, this is what we're going to close with, understanding this. This is only the beginning.
Yes.
This is the year that deception is going to be on another level. You better know the truth.
Yes.
Let me tell you something. You don't get to choose to live out your truth. And we don't live by the truth of the agenda of DAVOS or the Hollywood media, all those that are devil worshiping people and all this kind of, no, there's only one truth. The truth is the truth, and it can't be anything else. And you can't trust video, you can't trust audio, but you can trust God.
Yes.
And you can trust the Word of God.
Very good.
And I'm telling you, if there's ever been a time in your life where you want to take a chance on God and just say, you know what, God, I'm just not like them religious people, whatever. You need to talk to God. You need to get you a Bible and just start reading it. And I'm telling you, especially if you read the book of Revelation and you look at the world you're living in, and then remember that book was written over 2,000 years ago. And I'm telling you, not just Revelation, but throughout that Bible, it is showing you exactly the world that we're in. And the beast, the Antichrist, his system has to be based on deception and control. And that's what this is. I believe, Sandy, when it's all said and done, we're going to be told to just move on from this thing. It's just going to be another, just like we moved on from Las Vegas, all this kind of stuff. These are all trigger things in us to prepare us for the big rollout that's coming. And the big rollout that's coming, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it right here, is going to be an assault against your Creator, that you were not created by God, that you are not created in the image of God, that you were placed here by beings from another planet. And that is a lie from the pits of hell.
Very good.
Bottom line.
So basically what you're trying to say is if your heart's not right with God, you need to get it right with God. You need to know who you are in God. You need to understand your relationship with Him so that you don't fall prey to these. I believe there are certainly deceptions, but I believe it is coming.
Yes.
What you just said,
Yes.
I believe the day is coming when that's going to be a reality, and you're going to need to know who you are.
Absolutely. Well, we know who we are, and we love this Big Picture family. We
Yes.
thank you for joining us tonight. It's almost made it to 2 hours tonight. We haven't done that in a while.
Hadn't done that in a few weeks.
But on the night that I thought I was going to cut it short because of my voice, but I powered through in the name of Jesus.
Did power.
We love everybody. We thank you for being a part of our show. We thank you for being such loyal supporters, helping us grow the Big Picture family. Smash that like button. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Tell others. Many of you do that all the time.
Yeah.
And if you're watching the replay, comment below. Let us know if the show blessed you, where you're watching from. Become a partner with us if you'd like. Get a copy of our book, whatever. We appreciate it. We want to remind you tonight as we go off that if we're sick, if we're feeling good, no matter what, we ain't woke. But we are certainly awake. Love ya. God bless.
Good night.